there's a dish that divides chefs to the deepest core. 3 months ago, Daryl told me to take on the challenge and upgrade a classic lobster mac and cheese and refine it without losing its foundational ideas. Sounds easy. It was hard. It actually gave me nightmares for around 12 weeks or so. I knew this is going to be extremely challenging. It's going to take all my skills and all my creativity, but I really wanted to do it. I thought it would be insane if I could upgrade a stodgy lobster mac and cheese and move this dish onto a super elegant Michelin star level. So I gave it my best shot. But to compare them, we needed a benchmark, a classic lobster mac and cheese. So let's go and cook one. Now, according to classic recipes, I got a cooked lobster, but it's not ideal as it is already cooked. I mean, you overheat the cooked meat and it gets really dry and really stringy. Plus, boiled lobsters are never as delicious as a roasted lobster, but I will tell you a little bit more about that in a minute, when I also show you how to kill and butcher a lobster. Anyway, for my cooked lobster, I turned it upside down. I placed a knife tip right in the middle of it and cut it like in a closing door motion so that the shells did not splinter. I did the same on the other side, and next I removed the poo vein, I cleaned out the head, and to make it pretty, I remembered a real chef trick, and that was swapping and turning over the tails. And look at that, that looks so much better. Don't you agree? So then for my cheese sauce, I got a pot. I heated some butter, I added some flour, and yes, you have the recipe in the link below. Now, it is very important that you toast the flour till it's changed its color and it becomes a nice airy texture, because if you keep it undercooked, the flour will end up in lumps. Now that took me around 4 to 5 minutes. Then I added the cold milk and I brought it to the boil, but I needed to constantly stir it so that the pot did not burn. I seasoned it with salt, pepper and lemon juice. It tasted very clocky. So I remember the real chef trick, and that was to cover it with a paper cartouche. So I did that and simmered it on a low heat for approximately 2 hours. And that made it really silken. Then I added the cheese and I stirred it all together. As you can imagine, while that was going on, I had a lot of time on my hand. So I cooked the macaroni in some salted water. I also toasted some breadcrumbs in a little butter and added some Parmesan cheese. Also some chopped chive, as they will go so nice with the cheesy, buttery flavor. The macaroni I then strained and I cut them a little smaller because I planned to serve my lobster macaroni cheese in those spectacularly looking lobster shells. I mixed the macaroni with the cheese sauce. I added some more chive and placed it into the shells. The lobster tail I sliced for better and easier eating. I baked it for 10 minutes in the hot oven. For the last 2 minutes, I sprinkled some of those breadcrumbs over. So while that was cooking, I thought this gives me plenty of time to make a little lobster mac and cheese upgrade. So I chopped some shallots. I cooked them in more butter without any color. In went some white wine, and I reduced it down next to nothing. Cream went in, and when that boiled, I turned off the heat so I could add the Gruyere cheese, which, by the way, tasted delicious. I don't know if you know, but if you boil traditional cheese, it becomes like chewing gum because it breaks. So you need to work off the heat. And to make it an extra good day, I added a little bit of extra butter. And then I blended it, I strained it, and that was so good. And it was just in time to take out my lobster. Now look at that. That's going to be really hard to beat. It's going to be a challenge. I have a few ideas, like raw lobster. And yeah, I will show you still how to kill a lobster humanely. And by the way, it's not about throwing them in boiling hot water, as that apparently takes lobsters minutes to die. And I don't know if you knew, but Switzerland actually made it recently illegal to kill lobsters that way. Anyway, why did I go for raw lobster? Well, one reason only: flavor. So I picked out all the meat from the shells and the legs, and I chilled it. And then I placed all the trimmings into a pre-chilled blender. I added an egg, I blended it, and added some cold cream for the last 30 seconds, some salt and pepper, and that was it. But to make sure it's perfectly smooth, I passed it through a sieve so I could pipe it through a narrow nozzle and into the macaroni. But before that, I buttered a small cake ring. And then I cut the macaroni on an angle and I arranged them in a ring. I filled them and I glued them together on the inside. Next, like before, cheese sauce, shortened macaroni, lobster meat, but I wanted to make it a really good day. I mean, how can you beat cheese and truffles? Well, you can if you add lobster meat. And then it went into the oven. I baked it for 10 minutes, the last 2 minutes with the breadcrumbs, just as before. Now this gives me plenty of time to tell you a little story. You remember me telling you that cooked lobster is having less flavor than a roasted one. That is because if you roast or brown shellfish bones, they develop and multiply complex flavor. Shellfish carcasses are full of MSG and molecules like pyrosins and thiazoles and amino acids and glycine sugars. Now those chemicals react under hot temperature and multiply. It's a bit like what you have when you roast nuts. Now you agree, lobster bisque tastes amazing. Well, that's because you roasted the shells. You don't develop those flavors at boiling temperature. So the shells I had roasted in plenty of butter. Then I added some chopped vegetables, some chicken stock, but it takes a while to get out those flavors. So I simmered that liquid for approximately 2 hours. Then I strained it and I reduced it to a syrup, which I then mixed into my sauce. I mean, how she could be here and taste this with me, as I could not believe how all the natural MSG elevated my already perfect cheese sauce. I actually came up with an even better version, but before I do that, I will show you how to take this poor guy out of his misery in the most human way. Now think how you kill other animals. What we do, we go for the brain. But how do I find it? Well, I knew it's just right up behind his eyes. Bamboo skewer, upwards angle, in it goes, twist and push, and gone is the lobster. Lobster lets the fluid go, immediately no movement. The antennas might twiggle a little bit as the nerve dies off, but it's literally just like a bullet through its head. Then I break it apart, I cut the tail into rings, because this time I go for maximum flavor in the meat and I will be roasting it in the shells. But first I needed to boil some candele pasta, which is literally uncut macaroni. I split them open and filled them with the lobster mousse. Arranged them in a circle in a buttered mold in the oven and baked it like before. This gave me plenty of time to roast the lobster in a little butter for 2 minutes on each side. I removed the pasta, I drizzled some of the cheese sauce over, and as you see, this recipe has no starchy, floury cheese sauce, so it's much more elegant, like on a Michelin star level. Few toasted breadcrumbs and some Parmesan croutons. Yeah, why not some truffles too? Look at that. And now let's taste them all and find out which one is the winner and who is better to ask than my lovely wife. Okay, so lobster macaroni cheese, and what we have is 3 different versions, trying to make a classic better.
Did you say macaroni cheese?
Yeah, a lobster macaroni cheese.
Is that a dish or is that one you've made up?
You know, it's sort of recently pretty popular dish.
Oh, it is, okay. I don't think I've heard of it or tried it. When I have lobster, it's usually lobster Mornay or lobster...
Yeah, it's a bit like that. lobster Mornay.
Okay, but with the pasta.
Yeah, with the pasta.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this one's got the pasta in it, has it?
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
All right, you want to taste it? So
Okay, give me a fork.
I added a bit of extra cheese sauce.
Right.
Here we go.
Okay, it looks very rich to me. Okay. The pasta is underneath the lobster. Very tasty. It's yummy. You can certainly taste the cheese in it. Pasta's nice and soft. I'm going to say nice and soft. I caught myself there because usually it's al dente, but that's quite soft. But it's a nice contrast to the lobster flesh, which has got a nice firm bite to it.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I'm sorry, I said that unconvincing. I do. I'm sorry. I'm not a massive lobster person. That's the only reason. It is a delicacy.
They would know that.
But the first mouthful, I was like, that's tasty.
Okay.
I like that.
Great. All right, here we go. So, first upgrade.
Alrighty.
Okay, while
Okay.
you're there, I made it obviously a bit more refined and filled the pasta with some lobster mousse.
Yep.
And then the sauce is obviously, I try to upgrade that a bit too. So,
I like the look of that one.
yeah.
That one scares me. I was like, oh, there's a lot to eat. This one's like, oh, I like you. Hello. Here we go with a little bit of pasta. Again, the sauce. I prefer the sauce in that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's about the rest?
It's the whole dish, isn't it? So it's just that first mouthful. That's kind of macaroni cheesy lobster.
Yeah.
This one is more, it's just got a nice flavour to it.
Yeah.
So you still taste the lobster, of course, and the pasta, but it's more, definitely much prefer that. To me, that straight off I'm looking at going, whoa, that's a lot to eat.
Yeah.
And it is rich the first mouthful. And if you like rich food and a lot of it, that's great to eat. But this one is definitely more refined.
All right.
A thumbs up for me.
And now the last one. So it doesn't have that Mornay or that floury starchy sauce.
That one and that one both have.
Yes, in it with the pasta. So that one doesn't have that.
Okay.
So what that has, it's just all trying to be all super elegant.
So that's the refined cheesy sauce.
Yes.
Right. So this is not a cheesy sauce at all.
It is a cheese sauce, but it's...
sorry.
So we had two cheese sauces there.
Yep.
See, like one is with the pasta.
Yes.
And then the other second one I poured over.
Yep.
And then we had the sauce around and the sauce in the center.
Yes.
And the sauce, which is mixed with the pasta, we don't have.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Oh yes, the pasta's there. There's the pasta under there. Right. Okay. In it's made in a circular fashion. You're very creative. I'm already looking forward to this one because I like what you're saying about the sauces. I like that too. There's more flavour in the lobster.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many flavours going on, it's hard to pick out which is which. The lobster's definitely my favourite in that.
Yeah.
I love, as you know, I love raw food.
Yeah.
I have sushimi, raw meat. That's beautiful. I love that lobster. The pasta, that's just a nice added touch to it.
Yeah.
Which doesn't deflect too much from the lobster. See, that one, you're tasting so many flavours, but this one you've got the flavouring where it's not overpowering the lobster. So I'd have to say, I do like that one as a refined version of that one, but I would choose that one as my favourite.
Great. Okay. I managed.
Oh, really? I think you're going to say, no, you didn't. I thought you were going to say it was that one.
No.
So that's your favourite.
Yeah, that would
Winner.
be my favorite just because if I would cook that in a top-end restaurant, I wouldn't want to have that floury, starchy sauce. You know, that's just...
Yes.
It just wouldn't go too nice with wine and stuff like that. So I would try to keep it as refined as I can.
Exactly.
And a bechamel or Mornay is just not what people do anymore. Unless they make a souffle or so. Yeah. All right. So I hope you liked that video. If you did, check out my video on liver pate and liver parfait, where we compare those two. And yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
See you next time.